Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Sweet House. I have my sweet friend from Memphis, Tennessee here with me, and we go way, way back and have lots of the same friends, and just like we've kind of like ended up in Nashville together, and now you're sitting here, and I'm so grateful that you've come on the Sweet House podcast. But you guys might know her from Sweet Home Alabama and a couple of other things that she's done. You are incredible, been modeling since she was a little kid. It's funny because I was talking to Erin, our producer, and I said, Erin, do you know Devin? And she's like, yeah, she was a successful model and I was not. So we laughed about that behind the scenes, but you have been in front of the camera for a long time, and now you're selling houses. And so you've had lots of career transitions. And so that's why I started the Sweet House podcast, so that people could come on and talk about their nonlinear career trajectory. So I have to say thank you so much for coming on. And I also want to start with giving you your flowers, because you're also a mom of two and a wife, and you are making it happen. I read that you've sold over $80 million in real estate. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. It's a lot. Also, what is it about millennial women? It's so hard to take a compliment. You're talking about all these things, and yes, they are all so true. And I should be so proud of myself. And I'm like, no. Let me compliment you back. Like, I don't want to accept this compliment, but thank you so much. That's very kind of you.
Well, I think it's interesting because we're all moving too fast to accept the compliments, or at least I have acknowledged that that's why I have a hard time accepting the compliments lately, because I don't even take the time to acknowledge each of the things that I've done. And so I feel like that's why, at least for me. But you answer that question.
Why is it hard for us to?
Why is it?
I mean, that is actually a pretty good explanation. I haven't heard anybody talk about it like that we're just, I fully agree. I'm just moving too fast to sit in the moment and realize what I have done and what I have accomplished and all of the things that I've made it through in my life. And so maybe we should just take a second and pat ourselves on the back.
I mean, I just did a solo episode last week and I talked about that. Well, first of all, the solo episode was supposed to be about 30, 60, 90-day plans, but then it kind of turned into all the things that I've already done in the first 60 something days of the new year. And I'm like, man, it's March and I can't even remember all the things that I've done, because it's just been one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. So it is moving too fast for us to be able to acknowledge it. But you've been at it for a long time too. So I also think that the routine of just making it happen is just part of your lifestyle. And I also think that's why. It's just, you're doing it. So
just a couple of impressive Memphian moms who are just doing what we have to every day.
I know. So let's get into it, because Sweet Home Alabama was like your first TV moment. And so I want to go back in time to that moment when you got casted for that show. What was it like?
Getting cast for Sweet Home Alabama. Well, first of all, the casting director for that show is now a very close friend of mine. So she found me through pageants, actually. I'd just done Miss Alabama USA and was first runner-up. And she reached out not long after that and said they were looking for a lead for this show. And for those of you that don't know, Sweet Home Alabama, it was kind of based on the movie of the city versus country. So Sweet Home Alabama, the country version of The Bachelor, essentially.
So you started this before all the dating shows came afterwards.
But yes, before all the dating shows came after, and before the big boom of being an influencer, and that came after being on reality shows. Like, I don't think I even posted about Sweet Home Alabama on Instagram. It was still very much in the realm of like, I was putting a filter on what I had for dinner. I certainly didn't utilize it to the best ability.
But it's funny how media has changed, because back then TV media was the medium to catapult you, and now it's social media. Exactly. So it's like now everyone's going on the shows to figure out, what they want with dating, but then also they get this coupled effect of, all the fame that comes with it. Whereas back then TV was like the one medium. Now it's like you get double the medium to
Exactly. So I was only able to utilize the one side of it. And gosh, it was so fun. I was in college. It feels like 10 lifetimes ago. I've lived so many lives since then, have had so much happen. But
I feel like I've lived 10 lives already, and it's 9 something in the morning.
And that's why I brought you your coffee, girlfriend. I am the coffee fairy. Cheers. But it was such a wonderful experience. definitely helped turn me in the right direction to where I am now. I'm fully a believer that everything does happen for a reason. And it introduced me to several of my very close friends now, but specifically another cast member from the show. Her name was Cassie, and she is what brought me out to Northern California for my first job out of college.
Yeah.
And that started the path of where I am today.
And what was it like going from southeast of America all the way to California to work?
I had never been to Northern California before.
Oh,
my
wow.
first time there was hopping on a plane, and I had accepted a job, my first job out of college. I was so excited.
Where was it at?
In the Bay Area. So it was a company called Barracuda Network. So it was a tech company and extremely male dominated.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought that was like media or
So I ran and started essentially their video production and social media side of their business. So they brought me out essentially a young gun. They wanted me to be on camera, and that job essentially morphed into me being on camera, but also handling all of their social media. And I traveled all over the place. So I got to go to Dubai, Barcelona, Shanghai.
By yourself?
By myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I just took a little tripod and a camera with me, and I covered these events that they were running and ran their YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook. It was still the early days of social media and what businesses utilized it for. But it taught me a lot. I was able to stay on camera and keep, honing those skills as well, and also just foster my independence at the time. So, it was a great first job out of college, but I got burnt out fairly quickly when you're traveling that much and you don't have a home base. So I was so far from home being Memphis.
Yeah.
I was based in Northern California and then just constantly traveling.
Yeah.
So I did get somewhat homesick,
Yeah.
I would say. And that led me to asking them if I could move since I was constantly traveling. And they said anywhere that has an airport that you can get to where you need to go.
So you were pretty much going into remote work before.
Yes, before it was cool.
Yeah, before it was the cool thing. Well, I love that you took the chance when you were so young to just move somewhere you've never been and figure it out. So what would you say to a 20-something now that's in that same boat and trying to figure out which direction they want to go? Well, really anybody, 20-something, 30-something, 40-something, because none of us have it figured out. So we're all trying to figure out when to take that kind of risk.
When to take that risk. I think today is always the best day. That quote, actually, today is always the best day, is something that I've used in my life for a long time of like trying to keep a positive outlook. But it's also today is always the best day to do what you've been thinking about doing. Like, why put it off another day? And I've always gone with my gut on big life changes and big life feelings, like going on Sweet Home Alabama, like moving to Northern California and going somewhere that I had never been and just putting down roots and starting my first job there.
Yeah.
And then that's what eventually led me to Nashville too, is just a gut feeling that was where I needed to be and the place that I needed to go. And so especially for 20-somethings, just because that is your time to explore.
Yeah, it is.
That is your time to figure you out.
Yeah.
Like, who cares about money? Who cares about anything? Like, have experiences, especially before you have kids.
Oh, yeah.
As you know.
Before you get married, before you have kids, like all of that. It's so important to figure out who you are and get down to the core.
My biggest piece of advice for 20-somethings would just be selfish.
Yeah.
Like, people don't like to say that they are selfish, but I'm like, that is such a positive thing in your 20s of like, you need to just do you and be selfish and just check off all those boxes.
Yeah. But then what about, I have girlfriends who did that in their 20-somethings and they didn't date and they didn't go on a reality dating show and all of that. And now they're single in their 30-somethings and they're like, oh my gosh, like dating is so hard. Like, I wish I had done this this much earlier. So then it's like, what do you say to that? Because there's no great time to do any of it per se. And like I said, we're all still trying to figure it out.
We're all still trying to figure it out. Yeah, that's an interesting take.
Even the dating shows now, I was watching The Bachelor the other day. Everyone's in their 30s. Most of them. Yeah.
I think the age, because a lot of people are being selfish in their 20s now, it feels like it's pushing back the age that people are wanting to settle down and start having kids. I knew that I didn't want to have kids until 30. And honestly, before I met Jameson, I didn't know if I wanted kids, period. It's just, yes, one of those things where, well, we met in Nashville, went on a first date, and we were engaged within 4 months.
What? I did not know that. For some reason, I thought y'all dated for years.
No. To the chagrin of my father, he was like, do you guys not want to wait a little bit longer? We were like, nope, when you know, you know. And we knew. And that was the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
He is my rock.
Isn't it wild how you meet somebody and they also change the trajectory of your life? And so it's like you met him and that's everything from there.
That is everything from there. Yeah. And we met and we were both in the phase of life of very... selfish at the time. We were younger, lower 20s, and we were both just doing what we wanted to do at the time. But
how long have y'all been married now?
This year will be 10 years.
What?
Oh yes, gosh, 10 years. We're gonna have to do something fun.
Yeah,
but we met and just immediately, we didn't know before that if we wanted to get married, have kids, nothing. But we met, and it was like, okay, this is my purpose in life. It's like, you are my purpose, and like whatever comes with you, where you go, I will go. And it was, happy love story. That's
how it was when I met Alex, and we were 19 and 20. And looking back on it, I'm like, when Rain comes to me one day and she says, Mommy, I love him, I'm going to be like, no, you don't. You don't know him.
So something that I tell a lot of my younger friends who are trying to date, I use this little quote, and they're always like, wow. And I feel very like Confucius when I say it. So it's like if you're trying to decide if it's your person, it's like trying to explain color to somebody who's blind. Of like, if you haven't seen it before, then you don't know. But once you see it, you're like, well, it's just blue.
Ooh.
It's blue. That is love. And until you see it and until you know, you don't know.
Yeah.
So I hadn't seen it before I met Jameson. And then I was like, okay, well, this is it.
Yeah.
Now I know what love is.
What it is. Yeah. But when I think about her dating in the future, and just like, because Alex and I have been together so long, and I'm sure the same for you guys, you're like, it's a scary thought to have her. Would you let your daughters go on a dating show?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I will chain them to a chair in their closets. Who knows? I say that in jest.
Yeah.
There are a lot of great opportunities out there. And I think that if my girls are we're going to raise them to hopefully be responsible and to know who they are. And so if they come to me and they're like, hey, I really want to do this. I think that this would be great for me. Of course, we'll have that conversation. But I would prefer it if they're just studious little nerds who stay home and are with mommy forever.
I know. Wouldn't it be nice? But then also, it's like you raise them and you want them to go out into the world and do incredible things like you have done and like you've been doing since you were a tiny little person. And so, again, I'm giving you your flowers because I think that's so cool.
And I will accept them because I'm growing and I can take a compliment.
Yes. And look, that's awesome. I love it. I'm just like, I'm also learning, like I said, how to live in the moment and accept the things that I've done too, the cool things that I've done. Because it's like we all want more. We're constantly, even on the solo episode, I talked about that, like doing vision boards and writing in my prayer journal and all these things. And I'm kind of careful about like just wanting more without acknowledging what's right in front of me now. And so, yeah, I'm living in the prayers that I prayed. So I'm grateful. So that's that. But okay, so I want to go back to Sweet Home Alabama because I'm curious to know if you had social media back then the way it is now, what would that look like for you being on the show, being in college, and catapulting your future career with social media?
That is an interesting way to look at it. Like if social media was what it is now at the time of the show, I wonder if I even would have done it. I might have been a little too scared.
Yeah.
It's hard to look back and know and say. I think that it would have changed a lot of things. Obviously, the follower count would have gone up. I don't know if I would have been able to deal with the comment section.
Yeah.
Kudos to you and all of the influencers in the world. You guys have such thick skin.
Yeah.
Even if I post a house on social media and somebody's like, ew, that paint color's gross. I'm like a little hurt by that. So I don't know if I am the type of person who would do well as an influencer.
Yeah.
But it definitely would have changed the game. That is for sure. And I think that I probably wouldn't have done the show, honestly.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because when we were in college, social media was just coming around. So like Facebook was the hot thing, and you had to be in college to even get a Facebook account. And so now it's like everybody has access to it. And so you do have lots of noise and opinions from other people. But I kind of tune it out. I mean, I don't get a lot of crazy comments. I get a few here and there, but when I'm talking to other influencers, they're like flooded with a lot of craziness. And for whatever reason, I don't get a lot of craziness.
You're just so sweet and so sweet and special.
I'm knocking on wood that I don't get the crazy, but I'm like, I also, like I said, I'm a bit more reserved when it comes to sharing my actual life on social media. I think that there's just a degree of separation that I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you this much and not give you everything to be left to scrutiny, because people can take a sound bite and twist it a million different ways, or a paint color and twist it a million different ways.
Absolutely.
And it's like they zoom in on the slightest detail and then just go to town with it. So.
And don't actually know you at all.
Yeah.
Which is the hardest thing of like, I feel like influencers on social media, they're trying their best to portray who they are, and if other people don't accept that's just such a hard burden to bear.
But that's why I feel like it's so important to have like real in life relationships. And it sounds like from the show, you were able to find your close tribe who's still with you today. And like you said, they also helped you with your career. And so I believe that real life networking and real life conversations are exactly how you level up. And speaking of, I want to go into how you transitioned from Barracuda over to real estate. And so was that just like a clear jump into real estate? And how did that come about?
So this is a long story, so I'll cut it down a little bit.
Go for it.
So I was in Northern California, and I mentioned that I was traveling a lot. I was overseas, all over the United States, 4 different cities a week. And my home base was in Northern California. So like I mentioned earlier, I started getting a little bit homesick, asked them if I could move back closer to home. And they said as long as there was an airport that could get me to where I needed to go, then I was totally fine to move. So I chose Nashville because it was 3 hours from home in Memphis. Well, and actually I need to give my dad credit here because I looked at Memphis first. And my dad put his foot down and said, there's not enough opportunity for you here. You are not moving back to Memphis. And I think that was actually a defining.
Year was this?
That was 2013 or 14. I guess 2013 when I was having these conversations about where I was going to move, because the most realistic choice was like, oh, my family is in Memphis. My family is at home. I'll just do Memphis. And I'm an only child. So being a mom of a girl only child, you imagine if Rain wanted to move home to you, you having the wherewithal to say, no, you can't move home because there's more opportunities for you elsewhere. I think that was one of the most selfless things my dad has ever done. And a very big defining moment of my life, because I met Jameson not long after. And there were a lot of things that transpired after that. I am very glad that I was not in Memphis at the time. And so he helped guide me to where I needed to be.
And your dad is a judge in Memphis, or was a judge in Memphis? Right?
That's Serena. You're thinking of Serena.
Okay.
My dad, he was in medical sales. So both my parents were in medical sales in Memphis. And they were just rock star Memphians. They're out and about all the time. I've had season tickets for the Grizzlies since they first started in Memphis, and so like pillars of the community.
At the Pyramid.
Yes, at the Pyramid back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I remember just being like a little kid and just like running around the Pyramid. Oh, so fun. Okay, but circling back, so I made my way to Nashville since my dad was very selfless and said, no, you're not coming to Memphis, pick somewhere else. So I chose the next closest place that was Nashville. And I met Jameson not long after. We got engaged 4 months later. And so at the time I decided that I wanted to have a job that had more of a home base in Nashville. So there was actually an in-between between Barracuda and real estate. I got a job running events and influencer world for Smile Direct Club.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that now.
Yes.
Why did I totally forget that part of your career?
Yes.
I feel like all I see you as is doing real estate now.
Well, good branding on my part.
Yeah, it is good branding. But I totally forgot you were at Smile Direct Club for a little bit because I came to see you.
You did?
Yeah.
Yes, because so I was running the influencer program.
Yeah, you were.
And so like the early days of influencer marketing, I was slinging out those clear aligners for posts from influencers, and we had a lot of success with it.
Yeah.
And then started their event program. And while I was at Smile Direct Club, our family was hit with tragedy. So my mom passed away in 2017, and I buried myself in work at the time at Smile Direct Club. And I was going through a bout of just depression, having a really hard time. And my husband was brought with the opportunity to start managing a band. He was the realtor at the time, believe it or not. So he started in real estate and had always grown up in the music world. He grew up in Nashville, was a drummer, even his real estate clients were in and around music. And he had the opportunity to start working with a band. For the longest time, he said, no, I make good money in real estate. There's no money in music. There's no guarantee that this is going to work. And then after my mom passed away, we were both just, in this state of life is so short. And so he took a leap and decided that he was just going to try and see what came about working in music, which was really his passion. And so he needed someone to come in and help him with his real estate business. I needed a change at the time as well. And so I stepped in 2018, and slowly but sure, I think 3 deals in, I had fully taken over his business, and he was fully in the music world because we found that I was really good at real estate and he was really good at music management.
Yeah.
So at that time where there was just so much sadness and trauma and pain and a lot going on, we somehow found where we were meant to be, and it just clicked.
Yeah.
And it felt like that exact time just kind of started a new chapter.
Yeah. But I would also say that is how you do marriage, because a lot of people say marriage is a business arrangement. And in that way, like you said, it was a colorful experience of love, but then it's also figuring out your partner's strengths and their talents and where they fit in while you're navigating grief and everything in between. It's like this hodgepodge of you guys just swirling and just trying to figure out how to level up and how to help each other grow as a couple. So thank you for sharing that, because I think it's really cool how you guys were able to navigate the times and you stepping into your full calling. Do you feel like this is your calling?
Oh, absolutely. I rarely feel like I'm working. Don't get that confused with not being tired and sometimes getting burnt out.
Yeah.
But I almost am addicted to the chaos in a way of like, I love what I do.
Yeah.
And every day is fun. Every day is something new. And I can't imagine myself doing anything else.
Yeah. So, and Jameson stepped back into music, which was also his true love. I feel like I should have had him on the podcast.
Oh yeah. Hey, another time. We would love to talk to you.
I know. So had he been doing real estate straight out of college, or?
Yes. His mom was in real estate. So he had seen that growing up. He almost went to Berkeley for music, and then had, a teenage crisis, I guess, when you're going to college and trying to decide what to do. And he was like, I don't want to do music. Like, again, no money in music. Like, I'm going to figure out something else to do. And so he ended up going to Lipscomb and got into the real estate world and really started to take off. So he kind of built the framework of our business for artists, writers, producers, and people around the music industry in Nashville. So he got together with a few lenders in town and helped explain the process of how music industry, the writers, make money, and helped them get approved for loans. Yeah. And so it, again, laid the groundwork for people in the music industry coming to Jameson for help with buying a home. And that has translated into, that's also my niche today. Of I work with a lot of people in entertainment,
artists and celebrities. She sells athletes homes. She's being modest. So I'm like, again, girl, you're killing it.
Thank you.
Clearly selling millions of dollars. And so I think it's awesome that you're able to do that. But I want to go back to the fact that there are stepping stones to creating a career and also being successful in the career. And so it's cool how you guys have been able to utilize what you've been working on, like the musicians and the celebrity and the athletes and everybody, to then leverage that network of people to sell houses. But then you're also educating the lenders on, hey, this is how this group of people makes money. They're a group of creatives and they might not get paid every 2 weeks, but they get paid once a month or every other month or whatever. And so I think that's really cool that you shared that, because a lot of people don't understand the behind the scenes of all the things that you're doing and all the things that Jameson's doing in music, but then also all the things that you're doing as a realtor and how the two coincide and work together. Because again, it's like a swirling network of success. So, but it takes time to build something like that. So what do you say to the people who are just like, I'm just going to hop into real estate. I'm going to get my real estate license and hopefully I'll sell a house tonight.
Oh, girl, buckle up.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get into real estate. They might have watched Selling Sunset, which also, side note, I cannot watch.
Yeah.
I can't watch Selling Sunset. I get such a feeling like I need to wear bikinis to show houses, or I need to wear designer clothes to sell houses. Yeah. So I have found that it is better for me in my mental state to not watch it.
For sure. But do you think that that's just LA versus Nashville, or do you feel like it's just like not like a reality?
I don't think that the real agents in LA or any big city are actually wearing those things.
I've never
to show houses. I've never seen a real estate agent wear outfits and and they look great. I mean, I have FOMO and I wish that I could look like that when I roll up, but I probably just dropped my girls off at daycare and I'm doing my best, to get to the appointment on time, and I can't get into my best Louboutins at the moment. So
at 9 a.m. in the morning.
At 9 a.m. in the morning. Exactly. With a full glam hair and makeup. All that to say, I think that that's probably Selling Sunset and just the glamorization of real estate as a whole. That's probably why so many people are entering the industry. Yeah. But showing pretty homes and walking through, multi-million-dollar properties, that is a fraction of a percent of the real role of a real estate agent. I like to tell people, if you are hiring someone to open a door for you, that is not me, or nor should I get paid for that. Yeah. So walking through the home is such a small part of the actual process. Yeah. Somebody is hiring me for my local network, my understanding of the market, my negotiation skills, my experience of the back end of, I know every single process of how to get you from contract to close with as few hiccups as possible. Yeah. Because there's always going to be a hiccup in a real estate transaction. Yeah.
And it might not be in the 30 days of closing. It might be 30 plus days of closing.
Exactly. So, exactly. Yeah. And you just never know what's going to happen. And I think that once a lot of people get in and they realize, oh, this isn't as glamorous as it seems on the outside.
You're not wearing your bikinis.
No, we're not going to be wearing our bikinis. And, you're not always showing the multi-million-dollar properties either. But again, showing the houses, that's just such a small part of what real estate truly is and the value that we bring as agents. So my advice to anyone potentially looking to get into the industry is talk to someone who is successful in the business, like get them to explain the nitty gritty to you of that, you're probably not going to close a deal in your first year. There's a lot of work that goes into building trust in your community and in your sphere for somebody to be able to trust you with the biggest purchase or sale of their life. Real estate is typically, whatever phase you're in, that's typically the biggest investment that you're buying or selling. And so you have to have somebody that you trust that can really provide for you and get the job done.
Oh, for sure. And especially for you to work with the clientele that you do. Obviously, like I said, I'm going back to the building blocks that it took for you to build that kind of network to step into. It's not something that you just step into. Your bikini didn't get you there for sure.
It definitely didn't, especially after 2 babies. That bikini's getting me nowhere.
Oh, girl, stop. Your bikini body looks amazing. So, but I do love that you're sharing this because a lot of people only see what they see on TV. They see Selling New York, there's so many shows now and everyone's doing the same thing. And there's so many different titles for each of these shows. And everybody shows up in this package of just glamour and glory and luxury. And it's like, but when you're selling luxury real estate, like you said, it does come with all of those logistics behind the scenes. So realistically, what's a timeline that you would say somebody getting their real estate license could look at when they're trying to make their first big sale?
First big sale, I think the statistic is it takes at least a year. And that's a year of no money and a lot of investment. So you're not only investing, of course, in getting your license, which is money and time. You're investing in potential marketing. You're investing in taking your sphere out for drinks or dinner or lunch and investing in those people. And then just the community as a whole to get to know you through marketing. And there's still no guarantee. And what they typically say is like, if you get that first deal, it tends to snowball from there. Because at least if you do a good job, that's where your referral network starts. And that's where I've really built my business is I do my best to go above and beyond for every single client. And there are very few of my clients that haven't sent me someone else. Haven't sent me more business. But for someone that is just getting in the industry, I would say the best tip is to probably join a team first. So you can learn the ins and outs. You can get, fed deals and kind of earn your chops in that. And then when you feel like you have the clientele and the base to be able to step out on your own, do so at that time. Otherwise, it's just a lot of time and money that you're waiting for that, that first dollar to roll in.
But I think it's like that with a lot of careers. With creative careers and entrepreneurship, it's very much so you making the investment, whether it's your time or your money, before you get the big bang. And I'm pretty sure Jameson can also attest to this with music because he chose to go in a different direction with music because he's like, oh, there's no money in this and I need some money like today. But then he circled back to his first love. And so it's just interesting to me how people think that they can just hop into something and that it's going to present this immediate result. And I think social media has a large part to do with it. What are your thoughts around it?
Yeah, we live in a world of instant gratification. And that's something that I think about a lot of like, how do I teach my girls that, we're watching Trolls and then he says, oh, I want to watch Gabby's Dollhouse. And it's like, okay, well, I can just turn that on. Like, you don't have to wait for commercials. Like, it's so easy to see why these generations are growing up expecting things immediately. And how do you teach hard work? How do you teach patience? And I think that's a really hard thing to do. I think the millennial generation was lucky in that we might have been the last ones. We lived a little bit. And we all really had to like work hard to for what we've gotten. And we weren't able to see examples of like the end result on social media as we were growing up.
Well, it wasn't a straight shot to success either. It's like now get one viral post and you can have it done.
That's true. But even just one viral post, like that's not going to sustain you for a lifetime.
No, it's not, because it's missing the building blocks that we're talking about. And so you might have 1 million followers, but cannot sell a $1 million house because you still don't have the network and the knowledge to do so.
And we see that in real estate too. And I think it's every industry. But real estate influencers have kind of become a little bit of a thing. And one of the reasons that I have put a focus on social media in 2025
You're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm loving
We're out
it.
here trying. I'm going to need some tips from you later.
I got you.
But yeah, real estate influencers have become a thing. But if you go in and you see, oh, like this person's doing such a great job on social media, like they're killing it, and you look in at the actual sales production, it doesn't always line up. Which is interesting to me.
Well, and it's like the real world doesn't see or know that. And so the assumption is, well, this person is walking through this $5 million house and they have perfect social media to showcase the $5 million house, but they have not sold a $200,000, $300,000 shack. Exactly. And so it is wild to see social media influencers take off in that respect. But back to like us even talking about, there's so many people that are wanting to get into real estate. There's so many people that just want to be influencers. And I didn't get into the influencer world just wanting to be an influencer. I kind of fell into being an influencer. I got the title of being an influencer, but I've been doing a whole lot of other stuff that came with influence over time that led me into this role. It's not like I woke up and was like, oh, I want to be an influencer. And I think a lot of times people are thinking that it's this instant role that they can step into. And it's just not, that's not possible.
I think the point of influence is that you've built something that other people want to see and other people want to be a part of. It's not necessarily like, oh, I just showed up, look at me. It's like, what did you do to earn that influence?
Are you skeptical now of other people on social media or even real estate agents to a certain extent, with you knowing the business and then you seeing these things on social media?
Not necessarily skeptical, because again, I'm trying to do it too. I mean, the marketing and the advertising that it can bring you is very beneficial. I think it's more scary for the consumer of just knowing the work and the effort that I have put into building my business, the experience that I have, and that, you know, there might be someone else out there who has, you know, 50,000 more followers. And when somebody's looking to hire their real estate agent, like if they're just looking at follower count, then the experienced agent isn't necessarily the one that's going to win. So I think it's just making sure that you know the questions to ask when you're hiring someone or you're looking to buy that Amazon dress from an influencer. It's like, okay, well, what does this actually mean? Like, what is the work that has gone behind this?
100%. But I also think that it's very valuable this lesson is very valuable for all people in all businesses, brands, and everybody to understand that follower counts don't necessarily equate to actual transactions.
Yes.
And so it's something that we all should take note of, because it's just not reality. So I see it too in the influencer world, but I also have noticed a lot of real estate influencers on the rise, and especially in Nashville. Nashville has become this mecca for everyone who kind of wants to step into the influencer world. I think people think that this is a city that's very much so a sleepy town and a little easier. You can be a big fish in a little pond.
There's a lot of fish here.
Yes, there are a lot of fish here. And so, again, it's another reason why I'm like showcasing people in Nashville like you who understand this landscape and can tell people what it looks like to thrive here, because you don't just thrive here because it's a small town. It's actually not. It's very much so hard to make it in Nashville.
It absolutely is.
Don't you think it's hard to like stake your claim, figure out where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to be doing, and find your network and then thrive from there?
I'm so glad that we've been here for such a long time, that we were able to kind of create our network
Yeah.
in the early days of Nashville as it was growing. 'Cause
Yeah.
what year did you move here?
2016.
Okay, and I was 2014. So it was Nashville was very different than it is now.
Yeah.
And I think the continued growth and, like you said, just like the influx of influencers and influx of businesses and just people in general, the growth has been astronomical, and the perception of Nashville has kind of lagged behind a little bit, because I'll still have clients who come in from out of town. They're like, oh, well, I heard we could get a deal in Nashville. And it's like, no, I mean, Nashville now, price per square foot wise, we are comparable with some of the biggest cities in the world.
Yeah.
Nashville is not a place where you come to get a deal anymore. There's certainly still suburbs of Nashville where you can find that. But if you're looking to find a bargain on a house in Nashville, you know as well as anyone, it's hard to come by.
Oh, for sure. And then, I mean, even when Alex and I were first looking for our first house, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to be living in a shack. I was like, we're never going to find a house here, but we found one. So there are needles in the haystack in Nashville, but you need somebody like yourself, or Kirsten has sold us both of our homes.
I love Kirsten.
And I know you met up with Kirsten too, but she has sold us both of our houses, and she's also a very valuable resource. She's from Nashville, which I want to talk about being from Tennessee, because when you're from Tennessee, I also think that you have a really cool advantage. I don't know what it is about us Tennessee girls, but we know people everywhere.
We know people everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, even just walking in here, it's like, okay, there's 5 or 6 different Memphis people. We're going to talk about all of our connections.
Yeah.
And then growing up in Memphis, like you end up knowing people in Nashville.
And I know we had a conversation about Memphis off camera, but we won't go there. But we also think Memphis is always the place that people point back to. Every time I'm watching a TV show, they bring up Memphis. Like I was just watching Paradise on Hulu, and his wife was from Memphis. And so it's always like a little hint back to Memphis for whatever reason. So I don't know if we got some kind of special Memphis magic or something.
There is a special Memphis magic. It has been diluted over time.
Yeah.
But I think that goes back to for the longest time, years and years and years, Memphis was bigger than Nashville.
Yeah, it was.
And it was on the trajectory. Do you remember in Castaway? I always remember this moment where he comes back from being on this island, and he was like, wait, Tennessee got a NFL team and it's in Nashville?
Yeah.
Like it was like a shock.
Yeah, because
it wasn't in Memphis. It was like, wait, why would they go to Nashville?
Yeah.
And then, Nashville's just had her nice little glow up.
Nashville has had her nice little glow up. And it's funny because it's so close to Memphis too. And people compare the two cities. And I'm always like, y'all let Memphis have its magic, and y'all let Nashville have its magic too. Both cities are good and in their own way. And it's just, if you're looking for a bargain, you might want to go to Memphis.
You definitely want to go to Memphis.
But Nashville is definitely, I call it New York of the South.
It is.
And very much so, because it's fast paced, considering I think it's still a southern city. So we still drive our cars and we move a little slower. But at the same time, there's so much happening here. But it's also a good place to hop into if you're looking to find your place. I think it's definitely a good launching pad for entrepreneurs or anybody who's trying to just figure it out. So, yeah.
And I think the magic of it, too, is more so than just the city. It's the people.
Yeah.
And there's so many people coming here, but the type of person that's drawn to Nashville, they have... I mean, I hate to say the Southern charm in the Southern way, but they're just kind people here overall.
Yeah. I think people adopt the mentality when they come here too. A lot of the people who came during the pandemic from California and New York, they've all slowed down a little bit, and they've all adapted to our culture of kindness and just peace and culture.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah. But I want to go back to us talking about your career, because you were on this reality show, and then you go to California, and then you come back and you work for Smile Direct Club in influencer marketing. Then you become a real estate agent. And so when we think about where we're going on our life trajectories, you have gotten the skills to do what you're doing. And they're not the traditional skills that people are like, oh, get your real estate license and then start selling houses. They are social media. They are networking skills. They're just a variety of different things that are helping you thrive in your business, that had you not done all those things and taken the time to invest in those things throughout the years, you wouldn't be where you are now. You know the world landscape because you've traveled the world. And so you're able to say Nashville is on the map in accordance with all these other cities because you've seen that and you've experienced that. So I'm really honing on that because I just want people to understand that you're not going to step into anything overnight. It is full on dedication to a bunch of things that are leading you to your success point. So, and I'm also saying that to you because you probably hadn't even had time to even think about all the things that you've done and how they add up to where you are today. So
it's really nice to think about that, actually. So thank you for saying that. But you are so right. And it's also like when you get into real estate, like, sure, I am a luxury real estate agent in Nashville. I help people buy and sell a lot of stunning properties. My first sale was a $250,000 condo for the sweetest little couple. And those people have gone on and they sold that condo, bought another house, sold that house, bought another house, and now we're about to be looking for $4 million properties. Yeah. And so not on my side as a business person, investing in the smaller clientele, that's how you build. Yeah. But also as a homeowner to think about, your first home is not your forever home. And that funds your next home, that funds your next home, that funds your dream home. Yeah. And so it's always those stepping stones. And again, going back to that instant gratification, people are like, oh, well, I'm not going to buy a house till I can buy my $1 million forever home. And that is just the silliest thought process. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Again, it's the social media. Yeah, social media. Of like feeling like I need to have this certain caliber, whereas the smart people are buying the small condo
what they can afford.
And buying what they can afford, and they're not renting. People say, oh, I don't want to pay 6.5% interest rates. Well, if you're renting, you're paying 100% interest, ma'am. Yeah.
And you're not getting any return on investment.
And no return on investment.
Yeah. And speaking of, I want to ask you about the show Marriage or Mortgage that was on Netflix. Did you watch that?
Yes.
Yeah. What did you think of that? Because they filmed in Nashville too.
Yeah, they sure did. And a couple of good friends of mine were on that show as well. I thought it was good. It was one of the better ones. Yeah. Better real estate shows. And it was real real estate agents too.
Yes. And it's calling to the carpet too, the idea of spending money on a wedding or spending money towards something that's going to give you return on investment. Not that a wedding is not a good investment. It's just like, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Yes. Like where we want to put that money of like we're getting money out later on.
Yeah. Because weddings now are super expensive.
Weddings were so expensive when we got married too, a decade ago.
Yeah. But if I had to get married now, I think I would be getting married in a shack. Like
same.
Like, same. Goodness.
And again, knowing what I know now about losing my mom, my wedding photos and video, and that she was able to have that experience that I know that she wanted.
It's priceless.
That's priceless to me. So from a personal perspective, like looking back, I probably would still do the wedding. Maybe not spend quite as much money on it and take some of that for a down payment. Yeah. But actually having that, and my husband and I are both also only children.
Oh, I didn't
know that. All four parents, that was the only wedding that they were going to get. Yeah. And it was so special and wonderful. But if I could cut that budget and cut and run and take some of that for a down payment, I think I absolutely would.
Yeah. So have you and Jameson invested into real estate too, beyond you guys' just your property?
We have wanted to. Yeah. We have not yet. We're building towards that goal. Yeah. So recently, we own a house in 12 South, and we absolutely love the neighborhood. And we were in a phase back in 2020 where we were about to start having kids, and the question was there of, okay, so are we going to move and find a bigger house, potentially a different school district, or are we going to stay in this community and really build and make this house what we want it to be? And so we decided to embark on a renovation that is, we're in 2025 now. Again, we started talking about this in like 2020. We've just now sort of completed it.
And I need to come see it. I want to see.
Yes,
see
you should come see it.
Yeah.
It takes forever to put a house together.
Yeah.
But so we decided to invest in our forever home. But one of our next big goals is to get an investment property. And I heard this from, I wish that I could source it, but I don't remember who said it, but it stuck with me, that one of the smartest things that you can do is get a rental property like near your house or somewhere in your community that's a good investment.
Yeah.
Get a rental property, rent it out.
Yeah.
When your kids come back from school, that can be their house and it's grown in that much equity and your kids can sell it and start with their nest egg.
We kept our first house, the one we bought in 2018. We kept it, and it is an Airbnb, but that's exactly how we thought about it. And we moved into our other house when I was 8. Well, hold on. We bought the house. Well, started buying the house because, again, it's not a 30-day closing process sometimes. So we got it when I was 8 months pregnant with Rain. Alex and I were out to eat, and I was like, I want to go to this open house. So we went to the open house, and I was like, oh my God, I love this house. It's so functional and exciting. And like, I can see myself in this property. So we put an offer on it. Like, I called Kirsten. I was like, please put an offer on this house like tonight. So she did, and we got it. So it's crazy.
Has it been a good investment?
Oh yeah, totally. Both of our houses, yes. Primetime real estate. Yeah. We bought in the city. I do feel like both of my houses came to me. I feel like like the other one, I was on the internet, just surfing the internet at work one day. And I was like, wait a minute, this can't be real. Because the price was that good and it was brand new. And so I called Kirsten. I was like, Kirsten, will you take me to see this house? And her cousin was the listing agent. So we didn't have to like go through all the back and forth. And she was like, yeah, give it to him. Like, and again, having that network of Kirsten's hard work that she's built over time.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's her family. So her cousin was like, oh yeah, I trust you. You trust them. Let's all make this transaction.
The importance of a good agent.
It just works out. So you and Jameson are both only children. I didn't realize he was also an only child too. And now you have 2 kids. And so what did you guys plan for 2 children? Did you want a big family or?
Well, again, neither of us really knew if we wanted kids. We've always been very career focused and career driven. But when we met each other, it was like, okay, well, this makes sense. Like, I love you and I want a family with you.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it really, after I lost my mom, I went through a phase of like, how can I ever bring children into this world that don't know her? And then it came to the point of how sad would she be if that was the reason that I didn't.
Yeah.
So we decided to have kids, and it was another tribute to my mom. I really wanted to give birth at 30 because my mom was 30 when she had me. And so it's very special that
gives me chills.
We're essentially I'm going through the same experiences that she did when I like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, when
Ellison,
she was that age.
Yes, when she was that age. So it feels like it brings us together in a way, and I understand her a little bit more. As one of the saddest things about losing my mom when I did was we were just becoming peers, and I never knew my mom as me being a mother, and I feel like that really changes the relationship of a mom and daughter when you're both mothers.
It does.
Yes.
It changes it. Yeah. And I still have my mom, but I don't have my dad. But I do believe that parents that we've lost show up in different ways, especially through our children. I know Rain, sometimes I'm like, that is your granddad's full laugh. And so it just brings me joy to be able to experience that. And I know that if I never became a mom, I probably wouldn't see that part of my dad. So it is such a cool thing to be able to witness. And I hear you and I feel you because my dad doesn't know me as a mother, and I don't get to share that with him, but I do get a piece of him through Rain. Now I'm going to cry.
I know. I like to think that they know.
I know.
I like to think that
I totally think they know. I think that Rain definitely like had some sort of ethereal experience before she got here. Do you ever feel like that with your children?
Yeah.
Just with things that they do?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm right there with you. And so our second, her name is Henley Susan, which Susan was my mom's name.
Yeah.
And there's something about her that just really, like, I like look around and I'm like, oh, that reminds me so much of my mom, even just at 16 months old.
Yeah.
So I think that there's like some sort of like interesting connection there.
How long were your parents married?
They got married at like 22.
Yeah.
So I think that would have been like 23, 24 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. My parents were married for 44 years, and I'm actually the youngest of 5. And so I grew up with this huge family, and I always wanted a huge family. But now I'm like, I have one child, and I'm asking you how you're doing this with 2 kids. So how are you selling millions of dollars and maintaining motherhood and marriage and all of this? But you sharing your full story, it makes sense because you guys are building all of this together. And I think it's so important to note that, because a lot of people probably aren't thinking about that even when they're dating. Is like, find somebody that you can build a life with. Somebody
who you got to think about the hard times.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, because they will come.
They will come.
Yeah.
And hopefully not as hard as we've been hit in our family, but they will come, and somebody that's going to be there and not be scared and stand with you through that and be your rock, and you can be their rock. Like, that is the most important decision that you can make.
Yeah. Can we talk about how your mom passed?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think I know you said you don't like when I say you're strong.
Oh, no, it's okay.
We talked about that.
Yes, we talked about that. I will tell the story.
Same, but I also, like, I mean, having lost a parent, when people are like, how do you do it? How are you still alive without a parent? I'm like, because what else are you supposed to do?
One foot in front of the other.
Yes.
What else are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
And what I like to say, and then I'll, get into the story of what happened with my mom, but if she were here with us today, which of course I wish that, or if I were able to just like look over and get her to nod, I know that she would, she's of course would be upset of what happened. But can you imagine how much more upset that she would be if the event that stole her life also stole my life? And that's where I have to put one foot in front of the other, and I have to be a good example, and I have to do all of the things that she taught me in my life, and be a hard worker, and be a good wife, and be a good mom. Or that's debatable sometimes, but
I beg to differ.
You're sweet.
I've seen you juggle those girls, and you're doing a wonderful job.
Sometimes it feels like they're juggling me, but
I feel that too.
So my mom in 2017, my mom was shot and killed in my parents' home in Memphis by an intruder. And it took, 3 or 4 days to find him. And he was then arrested, and we went through a long process of waiting for a trial. The pandemic put a hold on these things. So again, this happened in 2017. We were supposed to have a trial in 2020. And that was delayed essentially because of the pandemic, and we ended up settling after the fact, and it's obviously been a big defining traumatic experience in my life, but I talk about it openly. So whatever you want to know, whatever
I
questions.
did ask her if we could talk about this beforehand, but yeah, especially because Memphis is just, it's like we talked about off camera, it's home, but it's also just got these little parts that sting. And so, but I think it's beautiful that you're able to talk about it and share it, because a lot of people need to hear it. A lot of people need to see what resilience looks like. And that's you. I know you're like, I want to be soft and all of that, but I feel like, you are that. You are that. I see that even with you and the girls. Our kids go to the same school, so we see each other like dragging them into school.
In school with our messy mom buns and athleisure, like, not looking near this cute.
So yeah, and even this morning I was like, I'm gonna be late. I'm dropping Rain off, and I
was like, I'll bring coffee.
Yeah, she's gonna bring coffee. I'm in meltdown mode and like trying to like level out. But yeah, but I imagine that our parents were the same way when we were younger, and they were trying to juggle all this too. So it is cool that we got these like lifelong examples from our parents. And so yeah, but
yeah, my mom is she is the number one example for me. She was everything to everyone.
You look just like her.
People tell me I look just like her. She was half my height. So my dad was very tall, and that was just about the only thing that I got from my dad. And so she was just this teeny, sweet little Wonder Woman who was the absolute best coworker, best mom, best sister, best daughter, best wife. And I think losing a parent, there's no good way for that to happen. And especially when it's a traumatic scenario. But if there were a positive, one of those would be that my mom is just canonized of like, she was Superwoman, and no one has a bad thing to say about her, and she just did everything for everyone. And maybe that's part of my I can do it all too mindset, because I never knew her as a mother, for her to have that vulnerability of, oh no, I struggled too. So in my head, she was just perfect at everything. And that's a really special memory to have of her. And such just like a great example for me to strive for every day.
Yeah. So your mom was the OG influencer?
OG influencer. Oh, she would have been such a great influencer. She would have been such a great influencer. Yeah,
but now you're here to do it, and your girls, and the legacy continues. But back to something you said about, can we do it all? I was at a women's luncheon the other day, and somebody said, you can't have it all at the same time. And I think you can. I was like, no, but you can, because I have my love life. I have my college sweetheart.
Yes.
I have my best friend in Rain. Like, I am doing what I want to do with my career. Now, are there some things that I want more grandiose in my life? Yes. But I am also finding my grounding and my presence in knowing that, like, I can do it all. It just may be at a smaller scale.
Or we can do it all, just not necessarily all at once.
Yeah.
So when I think about balance, there might be on a Monday, like yesterday specifically, I had a full force work day. I was slammed from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. I didn't get much time with my girls. And mom guilt creeps in on that. And so I think more so than like thinking about, oh, I didn't have a good work-life balance today. It's more like, okay, well, what is this whole week going to look like? Like, when am I able to devote time to my girls, or devote time to Jameson, or to myself, or to my friends? And like, does that balance out over the week or over the month? Yeah. Because when we're trying to do so much, there are certain days where just like, we can't balance it out. Yeah. It's just impossible.
Yeah.
So it's remembering that.
I let myself have the crazy days, but I do believe that balance does exist, and I do believe that we can have it all. So I don't want women to start telling themselves that they can't, because I'm like, the minute you tell yourself that you can't, it will all start to fall apart.
Exactly.
I do believe that you better pull it together, put on your lipstick, dry your tears, and keep it moving. Let your tears cleanse your soul, and then it's a bright new day. And that's just how I like to look at life. And that might be crazy. And just,
it is not crazy. That is a great way to look at it. And it goes back to us being strong, even though we don't want to be.
Yeah. But you have little people who are, yes, you want your mommy. Yes, I want my daddy. Yes, we don't want to have to be strong. We want to be soft, and we want to be able to call them. Like yesterday, I was like, man, I just wish I could call my dad. But, at the same time, I have Rain here who's like, what do I do, mommy? How do I put on my shoes? How do I like, how do I ride my scooter? And somebody has to show her how to do it. And
They
somebody
deserve the best version of us.
Somebody has to show her that she can fall off the scooter and get back on it too. So, it's all mentality shifts. So, but I am very grateful to have had you on, and we could continue this conversation all day. But I really hope that you guys have learned what it takes to build a long-lasting career, especially in one that looks glamorous and is glamorous in a lot of ways, as you can see. But, it comes with a lot behind the scenes too.
It sure does.
It comes with a life story.
It comes with a life story. It comes with a lot of hard work, and you wear a lot of hats. And I think that that's any self-sustaining business or any business where you're working for yourself is, the glamour hat is such a small percentage of what you're actually doing. There's a lot of other hats that go on beyond that people don't realize. And I know that's the same for your business as well.
Oh, for sure.
I'm so grateful for you having me on and asking me to do this, my first podcast.
Ooh. So
yes,
well, thank you for
appreciate
coming.
you.
Well, you guys, today we started from the bottom with the foundation of the Sweet House, and we built it up, and we learned a lot more of what that looks like. So I hope you've, like I said, taken a lot from Devin's experience, from reality TV to tech to traveling the world to landing in Nashville to meshing together the music industry and artists and celebrities and athletes, and your whole clientele that you have built over time is what you guys should know. Everything has to be built over time.
Absolutely.
And so, yes, I am so grateful again to have you on the Sweet House. And thank you guys for watching.